Rubes, if you have a daughter, how are you going to raise her?
Uh, that's a good
Like
question.
what sort of things are you going to try and influence or instill in her so that she can be successful?
Well, definitely critical thinking. Definitely developing self-awareness. I think I would try to expose or influence in a way of like explaining different dimensions of things. Yeah, so it's like don't just beauty or physical attractiveness isn't everything. There's more to it than that. I think there's many different ways to influence it, but okay. There's a book called The 48 Laws, 48 Laws of Power. I think, yeah, by Robert Greene. Phenomenal book. And in that, I think it's chapter 13, chapter 11. He has the chapter about, gender and not gender really, but he gives an example of this lady called Catarina Schwarzer. And she is an Italian woman who lived in like the 1300s or 1400s, maybe 1500s, like a long, long, long time ago. And she was part of the Milan royal family or something to do with that. Anyway, her dad was like this gangster. Had ruled over a certain part of the land in Italy, et cetera, et cetera. They had castles and all this sort of stuff. And he raised her, and he essentially got his counsel, his philosopher, the sort of the knowledge guy for him, his advisor, so to speak, to educate her. And he put no constraints on her. So she was allowed to train with the boys in fighting with swords and with different battle things. She was doing mathematics and philosophy and understanding history and battle tactics for war and all this. Like, she just had an incredibly diverse upbringing where no gender stereotype was put onto her. She was free to pursue and do whatever was of interest, and then also things that the people around her thought might be beneficial. But she wasn't told she can't do something. So I think that's one good lesson to learn from that. Anyway, it's an amazing story. Highly recommend people listen to it. Long story short, this chick grew up to be a fucking gangster. Like, fucking gangster. She was stylish, right? So she had like one of the most sought after styles in all of the country. So she would rock these amazing dresses, and then she'd just have a massive sword over the top, right? She'd just be packing a massive sword. And she would just do this crazy. She rode a horseback. She did all this stuff. Anyway, she had to get married because of, like the weird, like political connections or not weird. They're make lots of sense when you think about it. So she was getting married off to another, family that had lots of property and whatever else. Anyway, to cut a long story short and to not do a spoiler alert, shit goes awry. He's a douchebag, all this other stuff. He ends up getting killed by like a competing family. She's all alone with all the kids, right? And then they come and try and kill her. She fucking sorts him out, right? Then there's another set of assassins that come, or she gets married again. It's a whole big thing. I'm just summarizing. Married again. He gets killed in front of her. She says like, fuck you to the people. Then they send assassins, right? She locks herself in the castle. They send assassins, kidnap the kids, right? So they kidnap all her kids. They're outside the castle. She locks herself in the castle. They're having this standoff. And they're like, we're going to kill your children. She's like, you're not going to kill my children, because if you kill my children, all hell's going to break loose, blah, 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 blah. And she goes, and I don't even care if you kill my children, because I've still got this. And she points to her pussy. And she's like, I can make more. I can make way more. It's okay. Go for it. She calls their bluff, right? She calls their bluff. She has this whole big thing. She lures a guy in. She gets him, holds him hostage. It is just a remarkable story. She goes to jail for like 10 years, almost withers away, comes out, falls in love with the love of her life. It's a whole story, guy. It is amazing. I can put a link to the chapter of the book if anyone's interested. But Catarina Schwarzer, she is like, when I read it, it made me emotional. Like, I got so emotional because I thought, wow, this is human potential. She was not constrained by a gender role. She was free to explore whatever interest it was, and she was taught things that helped her to become a more robust person. And she proved it throughout her life. She was faced with adversity, and she overcame like just ridiculous stuff. And when you think about the times that like when she lived, it's even more crazy, the stuff that she did and was able to achieve. But yeah, she would rock massive, a beautiful, like she was known as a fashionista, but then she would just chuck a massive sword on there as well. Like, I just love it.
Give me an idea of what the conversation is with her about the power of the pussy? Like, what does that entail? And what are you going to inform your daughter exactly of what it is and how it works?
It's going to be, that is the greatest resources that you will ever have. But if you give it away for nothing, it could be very dangerous. Well, I don't know if I say it's dangerous, but I say you don't want to give that away for nothing, right? Because once you've given it away, you can't take that back. Okay. So my whole thing would be is like, understand the value of it, understand how powerful it can be, and you can utilize this for you to have an amazing life. And anyone that is sufficiently, that really does love you or care about you or want to be with you will understand that and respect that, because I think that shows your values and your morals a lot. But I would just be like, yeah, don't give it away too easy. Like, I know for myself, like, the amount of things that I would have done to get certain outcomes in life are far greater than what I ended up having to do. And I don't, like, I look back and I think, oh, wow, I wish that person, or not I wish, but, it would have been interesting to see if that person made me jump through more hoops, what I could have achieved.
I guess maybe teaching your daughter about the power of the pussy, there's really two routes, right? You can use the power of the pussy to build your life and build the life of the man you want to be with, because you mentioned something interesting where you can utilize the power of the pussy to get the best out of the man that you're with, and you can utilize it to build up that person you're with, right? The other route is, listen, you can use your pussy to get money, to get houses, to get cars, and that's sort of like the dangerous route. Even, I mean, she's getting things, but it's meaningless if it's just for free.
What's I hear explain, one route is superficial and the other one is a deep route. And I just tend to for the deep route. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the superficial, but it's not for me. And I would want to sort of bias more towards the deep, meaningful route. And I think that that's entirely what you can do. And I just, I think I'd love to teach that Catarina Schwarzer style. Like, I think that's going to be a story that I read to my kids, as daughter, if I have a daughter. That's the sort of stuff that I'll be reading to. Those kinds of things, that empowerment, that the world, this universe is for you to explore, right? All of these different things are things to explore. Don't get caught in these silly local max, superficial games, right? It's not worth it. And a good litmus test for people is to find out if they are just interested in you just for that superficial. And so if you hold out and you don't give it up, then they'll drop off. And you'll be very thankful that you held out, because otherwise they would have played you. They're just tricking you, right? They're trying to tell you all these things, the love and this and that and whatever. And as soon as they get it, they just buy, And so you don't want to fall victim to those shitty games, right? You don't want to fall prey to that tactic from guys. And, I know a bunch of guys that use that tactic. I've used that tactic myself. Like like I said, I don't wish, but it would be interesting to see if it was held out a little bit more or held off. Like, I didn't get what I wanted so easily, what I would have been willing to do, and the sort of person that I might have become because of that. That's an interesting thing for me to think about.